All right, news is picking up for the Texans. Got interview going on today, interview going on tomorrow with Philadelphia Eagles coordinator Shane Steichen today, Jonathan Gannon tomorrow. Two very intriguing names, two names that I'm very, very drawn to. But the most popular name of all, he might not be opposed to taking this job. We'll get into that in a sec, but I want to start with the McNair family. Cal and Hannah McNair, they were on the show today. My show In the Loop with John Lopez and Figgy Fig on Sports Radio 610. They started off the 10 o'clock hour. If you haven't heard it, go to the Odyssey app. I thought it was very good. We asked them the questions that I know that many people want to know. We had a little bit of fun with them. And Hannah said something kind of, trying to at least address what one of the national perceptions was. Let's start with Hannah herself. We keep talking about Cal McNair's role. We keep saying, Cal's going to do this with Nick Caserio and Hannah's going to do what? I don't know. I just know that she's with Cal a lot. And I also think that she does a good job of canceling out Cal. I think Hannah could easily be the voice of the organization. I think they can be a good squad, but I think the more Hannah talks, probably the better. And I started off the interview by asking, what exactly does Hannah do? What is Hannah's role? And maybe she listens to the show. I know she does. I kind of enjoyed because it feels like she took a old shot at the POS, person of service, Jack Easterby, when talking about her role with Cal.
She is my partner for life, and we joke about riding together, ride or die. And but that's just, I love her to death, and so glad she's my partner. We talk about these things all the time, and so to bring her in the process a little bit, she's a real asset. So, she's awesome.
I mean, I can speak truth to him without an agenda.
I can speak truth to him without an agenda. Tell me who that makes you think of. The old POS, person of service himself, Jack Easterby. Look, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is going to work. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Cal and Hannah know how to make the right decisions to run a successful winning NFL organization. We don't really have proof of that. It's a small sample size, but so far it hasn't been great. You have 3 coaching searches in 3 years. Hannah actually said, it starts with Cal. Like, we can blame Nick, but it starts with Cal. She made that clear. What I can say is it does seem a little bit more normal. And it's not just the situation, like the coaching situation and what they're dealing with is a lot different this year than the last 2. But just the overall process of not having Jack Easterby lurking around and, not having a situation where you don't fire the coach till Thursday and then you're behind in the process. It seems like they're actually functioning like a normal organization, and that's kind of a good thing to see. What are the results going to be? Who knows? Do they know what they're doing? Who knows? But this has been a pretty good week outside of losing the number 1 pick. Here is a question I asked, and I said I wanted to ask this at the press conference to Cal McNair. So you got rid of King Bill. You got rid of the POS, person of service, Jack Easterby, and Nick Caserio is still here. Now, both of those guys wanted to work with Nick Caserio, and one of them did very closely. How are fans supposed to feel like things are going to be different given Nick's relationship with those two guys previously?
Nick had been on our search list before those guys were here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that came from
many
years ago when Dad and I were doing a search, and we had a search firm and they did a lot of research, and Nick was right there at the top of that list. But but because of all the rules and the contracts, he was unavailable. And so he had been a guy that I had been watching for years.
Right.
So
when Nick was available, I mean, it wasn't one of those things where, I mean, you're obviously interviewing him, but his talent and what he's known for is well known among the league. So, I mean, when you could go get him, you go get him.
Yeah.
And when Carolina actually put in the request to interview him, and when I saw that was accepted, then I said, hold on.
Yeah, we got to get in on
it's a game changer.
Yeah, we got to get in on that.
So, and then Carolina, when they hired their coach, they took the airplane to Waco and picked him up and took him back home to Carolina. So I knew we had to act, fast if that's something we wanted to do. And I was prepared to do it from previous searches and also what we had worked on that year.
And then speaking to now, I mean, why is he still here? You just asked that.
Yeah.
I would say, look at where we are. I mean, we've got draft capital, cap space. We've got great young players. Yeah. You said it earlier. And I mean, that speaks to Nick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could say what you want about the coaching searches and whatnot, but I mean, when you look at that,
a lot of mm-hms from Lopez, huh? I've said this. I have no problem with where they are right now. It would be you'd feel a little bit more uneasy if, there hadn't been some of the changes that were made last year, but I have no problem with where they're at. They do have more draft capital, et cetera. They did get through the Watson trade about as best as you could. I thought Caserio actually handled that. But I have no issue with where they are. I just know a lot of fans just wonder, and sometimes there are clues, and sometimes Nick doesn't do himself any favors. Like, how much different is Nick than these guys? But that was their answer. They've liked him for a while. They liked him before they liked Bill, and they liked him before they liked Jack. So that was the answer. I kind of wanted to have some fun with this because everybody knows, like anyone who's in a relationship, sometimes a wifey gets mad at you or your girlfriend gets mad at you for a lot of things. Sometimes it's because you're wasting money, maybe, or you're spending money on something. Cal McNair seems to be spending a lot of money on fired coaches. It's cool to have an owner that spends money. Ideally, you would like that money to go towards something other than fired coaches. Fortunately, though, there's not like a coach salary cap. But I decided to ask Cal and Hannah about that.
Do you ever get mad that he's paying so many coaches to not coach? Like, does that are you ever like, man, we gotta quit. We gotta quit wasting money on these guys.
We had some guys fall off this year, which is great. That helps.
Yeah.
But
pay them off. Pay the note off.
I no matter what, I'm here, ride or die, whatever the cost.
Okay, so there you go. All good, little fun, but some coaches paid off. What about the stress? We talk about how this process is different. Obviously, the names are better. The job is more appealing. The process, I guess, has changed a little bit. Nick has different people helping him with the search. The stress level, I think it probably goes without saying that it's less stressful, but let's hear from the shot callers themselves.
Have the changes that have been made up to this point that might have been around the last 2 years, have they made this coaching search, for lack of a better term, a little bit less stressful?
Yes. Oh, wait, I should have paused.
Yeah, we're excited with where we are. We're excited about our future. And we've had to work through some stuff to get here, and some of it has been a little bit difficult. But we're excited. We're extremely excited to be where we are right now.
All right, so they're excited, and I'm pretty excited too. And it's about to get more exciting. I'll tell you at the end. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Be sure to subscribe, like, spread. It is the only source of daily Texans digital content. I talk about the team daily, 10 to 2, Monday through Friday, SportsRadio 610. Cover the team at the tailgates, in the press box, in the locker room. We get all the interviews with the players. We get the interviews with the owners. We get the interviews with everyone. And this is as good an access as you can have to the Houston Texans, whether you're a Texans fan or not. If you're not a Texans fan, this is the place to come and get that information. So appreciate all the subscriptions. Appreciate all the likes at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram. The next question that was asked, and there have been reports, and there have been some weird ass monologues from national media types. There's been some columns, and there's been talk about like the appeal of this job. The other day I saw like Daryl Ryder from Cleveland say the Texans thing is a dumpster fire, blah, blah, blah. Dude, come on. Like, you're in Cleveland right now. They're talking about Stefanski and stuff like that right now. Like, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff that went on. It just seems like the cool thing to say. It hasn't been a good organization, but to act like this job isn't appealing because they fired Lovie Smith after year one or David Culley after year one, that's either dense or selectively dense. If you can't understand what the appeal of this is. That's just kind of silly to me. That's just my take, though. Maybe if you have options, like last year, I wouldn't have touched this job with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't have touched it the year before either. I would have wanted no part of it. $75 million dead cap. Deshaun Watson still there, unhappy because of their own doing. The allegations. I would have wanted no part of this. You couldn't have paid me enough money to come here, especially if I had options. Now, if I was David Culley and they didn't even want me to come back as an assistant in Baltimore, then yeah, I would take the job. I've never been more than a receiver coach. So yeah, I would have taken the job. One of the funnier things is I think David Culley was like a quarterback coach when Josh Allen was bad. So yeah, for that time, getting through the mud, giving an opportunity to someone who wouldn't get it anyways, yeah, David Culley was fine. Lovie Smith was fine. But like the candidates like the Gannons, like the Steikens, like the DeMeco Ryans, like the Sean Paytons, like the Everos, like the Ben Johnsons. No. Last year, hell no. Hell to the no on this. But let's hear from the shot callers themselves. Has anyone told you no when you reached out and submitted an interview request? Have you heard no from anyone?
What has the interest been like? Like, have you had any candidates say no?
No.
Not at all.
No.
So there you go. No. And just like that, we had a report from my boy Aaron Wilson about DeMeco Ryans, and he might be interested or might be leaning towards a job interview now. No kidding. Like, the initial report was silly. I rolled my eyes at that because it was reported before Lovie Smith was even fired that DeMeco Ryans might not be interviewed for the job. First of all, if you're another agent of another client, you would want to put that out there. If you're DeMeco Ryans' agent or you're DeMeco Ryans, why in the hell would you disrespect Lovie Smith and disrespect the entire coaching profession? And I'm not saying some of them don't do it by saying, oh, well, you know, I don't want a job. I'm not interested in a job that's not even open. That was silly to begin with. And now it's being put out, he might lean that way. No kidding, he might lean that way. You got Andre Johnson with the organization walking around. You got a lot of his former teammates that have good things to say about the organization. You have all the draft equity. You're going to have so much job security at this point. They're not going one and done again, especially with a young guy now that they're at the point where they are. So, of course, he's going to interview for the job. If you follow this channel, you know I was rolling my eyes at that from the very beginning. It was ridiculous. Now, here was the money shot from Hannah McNair, and there's been a lot of dialogue about the Texans organization. Incompetent, I think it's fair to say. It's kind of been incompetent the last few years. Just the presence of the POS, person of service, alone is enough for that to be valid. Unstable, hell, they fired 2 coaches in 2 years, so you could say unstable. Apathetic fan base. You could say that. Not a great roster at the moment. You could say that. But some of the other stuff that is said by national media types, and it's weird that it's the default, that it's become like the default of the direction that things go. Here was Hannah McNair about any potential misperceptions about the Texans organization. And yeah, she went there.
And the other one, and this may be a little bit sensitive, but we're not a racist organization. And I'm just putting that out there. I mean, we're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that from the start of this organization, Cal's dad was very intentional with the fellow owners he brought in. And you could see a very diverse group there. And back when it was not popular.
Yeah.
So I would say, he has Asian, Hispanic, African-American, a woman, Egyptian. I mean, he really intentionally went and got everyone. And so that's been in the DNA since this organization has started. And that always just really hurts.
Grinds your gears.
Yeah, it does. It hurts the whole organization because we all know internally
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have the stats to prove it too. We're one of the most diverse clubs
in the league.
And
Yep.
as a business, we're very diverse and trying to, and we always want to get better.
Yeah, there's always room to get better. You know
Mhm.
that. You want to make sure that your organization reflects the community that you're in.
Yeah.
And so, we just want to make sure.
I challenge people that say that, take a closer look.
Yeah.
Peel back the onion a little bit more,
Yep.
take a little time, look at who we are before you make that judgment.
For sure. And I mean, look, again, any criticism is valid. There are 99,000 words that you can say to question the Texans organization. You can talk stale, you can talk tone deaf, you can talk about a lot of things. But I do think that's one thing that I think it's unfair. I thought it was unfair when Mr. McNair, Bob McNair, was alive. And I said it at the time. Look, you take something secondhand, an analogy, and you run with it when a guy, I mean, he couldn't even, the thing about Bob at that time, I think if it'd been 10 years earlier, he probably would have gone in front and been able to speak for himself and stuff like that. He wasn't able to do that at that time. He was going through chemo. So, I mean, I thought it was embarrassing. I think people have used it as the default. I thought it was funny that, even Romeo Crennel's getting drug into this, Lovey, Coley, like they're not even down with this type of stuff. Like the Flores lawsuit, you didn't see David Culley jump in the Flores lawsuit. It's not in that. Like there's a lot of things that they need to improve. There's a lot of changes that need to be made. Am I going to say that the Texans are a stable organization? Hell no. Credibility is a little too important to say something like that, but I was glad Hannah said it. And the other thing, like as far as takeaways, and again, the Odyssey app, SportsRadio 610 in the loop, and subscribe to the channel, like all that type of stuff. Subscribe to the podcast too, if you want to stay connected to the Texans. It's the number one source. You won't get a better 4 hours of informed entertainment about Houston sports and the Houston Texans and other teams in town than you will in that 4 hours if you subscribe to the In the Loop podcast on the Sports Radio 610 Odyssey. I promise you that, guaranteed. Just like you won't get better digital coverage here. And shout out to everyone else doing their thing. This is it's a tough time for the Texans right now. I know a lot of people want this team to be really good. I know a lot of people are starting podcasts. A lot of people are going to be probably a little more actively digital when they're good, but show them love too. The more the merrier, talking about the Texans. So just spread the love around, because when things get good, you're not going to be able to get enough content, but let's just make this like the home base. The other takeaways from the Hannah McNair, Cal McNair interview, really those are the big takeaways. Cal did say that he played to win on Sunday. And look, an owner can't come out and tell a coach to lose, especially when that coach is going to be gone, or there's a chance he's going to be gone. So that didn't surprise me. The process itself, there's just going to be more of an active, hands-on type approach with Hannah and Cal. So you'll have that. And I expect D'Amico Ryans to potentially interview next week at some point. And I don't anticipate Sean Payton really being like a realistic option. I think if the Jags win tomorrow, Brandon Staley's getting fired. I've heard that Sean Payton wants to go to LA. Someone who knows him pretty well. And then the Dallas thing, Jerry Jones did not say that Sean Payton wasn't, or that Mike McCarthy was not getting fired when he was on 105.3 The Fan. He said he's already done enough of an evaluation to be able to make the decision. So even if the Cowboys win the game against Tampa and then lose the next, I could see Mike McCarthy fired, especially with Sean Payton out there. So Jerry never said that. And I was about 1 foot from Jerry Jones one time when he said with a smile, just because I said it doesn't mean it's so. So take all of that with a grain of salt as well. Shane Steichen, he's interviewed today. I think that interview's already been done. I think there was a lot of attention in that interview. A lot of people were a part of that. And then we're going to have Jonathan Gannon tomorrow, Evero next week. We'll probably hear something on D'Amico Ryans and Mike Kafka next week. Mike Kafka went extra hardo when he was asked about job openings. He actually started his press conference with it and said he wasn't going to talk about it. D'Amico Ryans talked about it for like 10 minutes. It was actually some good stuff. You go to the San Francisco 49ers website, click on D'Amico. If you like D'Amico, you're going to love him even more. If you want to like maybe do a little more homework and research on D'Amico, I strongly recommend going to San Francisco 49ers website, or even you could even watch it on YouTube and listen to D'Amico. Hell, we might, if we get news that D'Amico's gonna interview when it becomes official, we might just listen to that and just kind of enjoy the words of hopefully the next coach of the Houston Texans. But business is picking up. Who knows how many names get added to the list? I think with this list, you've pretty much covered all bases. You have defensive guy, offensive guy, the Philly Eagles success you're dipping into the McVay tree with Brown and Evero. So, you know, I think they're covering a lot of ground here, and it's actually a really, really exciting list. To say the very least. Comments coming through. We'll get to the comments at the end. But I want to address the All-Pro story today as well. Laramie Tunsil, you could tell, he told us when he was on the show, when he joined the show a couple weeks ago, that it was all about making the All-Pro team, and that was something that meant a lot to him. He did not make it. Trent Williams was the first-team guy. So Laramie Tunsil is not a first-team All-Pro or second-team All-Pro. Maybe this motivates him a little bit. It doesn't necessarily negatively impact Laramie Tunsil's contract negotiations, which, by the way, Nick spoke to earlier this week when he was on with Payne and Pentecost. You need to fire up the Odyssey app and just go through everything we've got going this week. Good God, there's been a lot of news from the most important people. But I don't think it impacts the negotiations. The point at the end of the day, he played all pro ball. And they know that. He knows that. He might not have the award, and I know that sucks for him, but he played all pro ball, as did Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, a rookie that went the pick after Derek Stingley, is a first-team All-Pro. Respect to Sauce. Immediately, Texans fans are saying, man, did we get the wrong guy? Should we have gone Sauce over Stingley? If you factor in that Derek Stingley missed a lot of games and a lot of it was caution, then yeah, there's obviously there's reasonable reason for concern, I guess. Not concern, but at least like hesitation to think that they made the right pick. I will say, if Sauce Gardner had come here and if Lovie Smith had coached his defense, he was not going to be a first-team All-Pro. Who knows what would have happened if Stingley would have went to the Jets? He would have been better. He would have had a better season. But how much better would he have been a first-team All-Pro? I don't want to minimize and disrespect what Sauce Gardner did and say yes. I will tap the brakes on crowning Sauce Gardner already better than Derek Stingley this early in the game, especially given the fact that Derek Stingley wasn't running a good system, and given the fact that they, because of caution, they had him sit out. So I'll just at least err on that caution. And I'll also look forward to seeing, and I'm sure that's going to be part of the job interview process, is how are we going to use Derek Stingley? Because they're not going to have him playing like Jonathan Joseph did at the end of his tenure. They're two different corners. He's a bump and run type of guy. So we're not gonna see that. But props to Sauce Gardner. And I mean, right now he looks like 1 year in, he looks like the better selection. But let's be honest, RG3 looked like a better selection than Andrew Luck. And we saw how that kind of ended, although Andrew did retire early. So there's that. I want to set something straight real quick before I get to the comments. And I hope everyone has a good weekend. This is one of my favorite weekends, wild card weekend. So we've talked about the McNairs. We've talked about the all-pro stuff. We've talked about some other things. We went to the uniform presentation yesterday at NRG. This is what we got. We got that hat. It's a cool hat. Maybe it has something to do with what new uniforms might look like or some of the color schemes or whatever. They're not going to have Oiler blue in there. Maybe there's going to be some sort of light blue, but that's not the exact same thing as Oiler blue. And the reality is, if you do research, not a lot of people know this. That blue, while the Oilers popularized that blue has been a historical part of this city for a long time. From road signs to all that. That blue, like the Oilers stole that blue from Houston. They didn't create that blue and then all of a sudden take it. I know they get credit for it and we call it Love You Blue and Oiler. Nah. Do your research, do your homework. Look at what the early signs look like in Houston. So, they didn't invent that. I know they took it to Tennessee and all that. They didn't invent that. But I say all that to say this. Maybe this is kind of like a sneak peek of what they're doing. They're not going to get rid of the damn logo. Now, maybe they need to freshen it up and let some other stuff go, but they're not getting rid of the Bull logo. That would be whack. Do they need to change the uniforms? Yes, but they don't need to get rid of the Bull logo. That's crazy. They don't need to do that. Do they need to make it to where maybe the gear is a lot more cool and people want to wear it? Typically, football gear is not cool, like the gear that they've been releasing exclusively. So maybe they'll lean that way and they'll figure that out and they'll dive into some other things. The presentation was really smooth, but the one thing I saw some media types do, and I'm not picking on you, but a few of them like tweeted out stuff as if they saw some sort of effing mystery uniforms. I swear to God on my life, I did not see any uniforms that they're creating. Like, I know that it probably sounds cool. Oh, you're going to love what you see. We didn't see anything. The only uniforms that I saw, and I was there the whole time, I was sitting there, we saw the uniforms that you see on the internet from fans. So you've seen that like blue fan thing. You've seen the black Texans jersey and all that. We saw that. And that's just because they're listening to fans now. But those were the only uniforms we saw. Now, we did learn that it's a tedious process. We did learn that they realize that they need to expand and probably resemble a team that is more about, the city. But we didn't see any damn uniforms. Don't let any vague, cryptic-ass tweets lead you to believe that. We didn't see a damn uniform. So when the uniforms come out, which won't be this season, maybe next season, we'll have a good idea of what it is, and we'll figure out at the same time. But don't let anyone trick you into acting like they saw something more than a uniform. Promise. That did not happen. I mean, you see the hat, so That's what that was. I'll go through the comments and then we'll enjoy our weekends. A nice little wild card weekend. So great. The Gremlin says, seemed to me the interview they was trying to push the United Front agenda, but she seems to be the one in charge. I don't think they were trying to front anything. They're always together and they're always doing stuff, whether it's on game day, in the community and stuff like that. They're always together. And quite honestly, like they just came in to talk. If you go back and listen to the interview, I started out the interview asking Hannah's role. That was the first question I asked because I think she kind of sets the tone when she talks. I think she has a presence. Y'all can tell me. I think she has a real direct, firm presence. I wouldn't want to I don't mind arguing. But I mean, if I got matched up with Hannah in a debate class, and I would be a little bit nervous, and it might be kind of like a fight to the death. And she's very quick, she's very smart, and she's very firm and direct, knows what she wants. And I don't think, she can put on a smiley face, but I feel like she'll jump on you like a trampoline if you get caught slipping. That's just kind of what I thought. I don't think there was any front. I think they'll both tell you that they're partners in crime. For sure. I think if anything, there's no Jack Easterby in the way. She's going to be one of the first people that Cal talks to. And she's one of those people that, has been around this and is probably going to be a big part of this for a long time. Ryan says, so Hannah is running the show. I see. I don't know if she's running the show or not. I think they are an absolute team, and it's Cal's show. It's Cal's show, but I look at them as a squad. Corey says getting the daily content out of the way early tonight. I don't know. I'm mixing it up a little bit. It just kind of depends on the time. Coyote says we want Hannah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind more Hannah either. Power says Davis Mills is a terrorist snitch. Don't know what that means. Sean Elmore says, my version of POS is different than yours, or maybe they mean the same thing. POS, person of service, piece of bleep, who knows? Coyote Kojo, did Lopez give him a cheat sheet for the barbecue questions? I don't think so. They just both like barbecue. OY asks, what did they tell you off the record? Come on, man. That wouldn't be cool for me to say anything off the record. Really, they didn't really tell me anything. I don't ask. I don't put people in that position. Unless you have some sort of fake ass off the record thing where you're basically trying to manipulate 15 people and throw everyone under the bus and tell me something completely different than you told me before. Off the record is off the record. And I'm talking about the POS Jack Easterby on that. Hannah did say, and I think I can, she wouldn't mind me saying this because I think she actually said it when we were going off the air. She did call me a Sean Payton hater. She did call me a Sean Payton hater yesterday. Hannah did do that. She came in the room yesterday and she said, oh, wow, look at the Sean Payton hater. I was like, man, I'm not a Sean Payton hater. She goes, oh, you're a Sean Payton hater. Just said, okay. Ryan says, I think he's excited. I think Cal's excited too. I mean, you're not having to answer questions with Deshaun. You don't have a disgruntled quarterback. Things are very much better than they were the last couple of years. Sean says, you think you're excited? Check out these nipples. I would rather not. James Smith says Hannah is very articulate. She's articulate. She's quick. She's direct. Big fan of that. Looks like D'Amico declined the Panthers, Coyote Kojo said. Okay, so there you go. D'Amico declining the Panthers. Maybe he knows where he wants to be. Ding, ding, ding. Ryan says the national media is going for the low-hanging fruit and shows they've never watched an entire game, let alone know that any history past D4. I don't expect national media to watch any of these games. You guys know it can be kind of miserable to watch the games, but yeah, the low-hanging fruit is a thing. Jock said, Tyler pissed about you being pissed that he used the term sneak peek about the event last night. I was not talking about Tyler. There were a lot of people who did it. It wasn't just Tyler. Lopez was talking about the TV guys. I was not talking about Tyler. Tyler texted me and said, at least mention my name if you're gonna say this. So I mentioned his name, but he did kind of do. I thought Tyler did kind of act like he saw the uniforms. I mean, if I would have read it, I would have thought that he saw the uniforms. Coyote Kojo, Hannah DeCal. Look at me, I'm the captain now. They're co-captains. That's my opinion. They are co-captains. J.O. loves Hannah McNair. A lot of people love Hannah McNair. She was popular on the text line. She's the voice you want defending your squad. J.O. said, I thought it was interesting that John McClain said today that Hannah and Cal are enthusiastic about Ben Johnson. He quickly followed saying his own preference is Shane Steichen today. They're going to be enthusiastic about most of these interviews. That's the thing. Like, you know how like, what's the analogy here? I don't want to screw up analogies. I've been known to do that. But like, you know how sometimes you think you like something the most, and then you see something else, and then you see, like when you're, like, say you're at Cheesecake Factory. Shout out to Vince Young, allegedly. But like, you know how when you're looking like, and it can be any big ass menu. I just said cheesecake. It can be any menu. I just use Cheesecake Factory because it's like a Bible with how many pages it is. But like, you know how like when you're going through the menu and you're like, you know what, I want that. I want that. And then the waiter comes and you're about to order, and then they walk away and you change your mind again. And then when the waiter finally gets to you, you change your mind again. That's basically what the Texans coaching search is going to be right now with these names. I mean, they're going to change their mind a lot. And it's probably going to be a tough decision because there's a lot of really good candidates. So I don't doubt that they like Ben Johnson. I'm not as high on Ben Johnson as a lot of people are, but I'm sure that they're going to fall in love with a lot of people. Sean says, can you feel the love tonight? Sure. Michael says you're number one on Texans news. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's very, very nice of you. Sean says, doesn't feel like a legit search until Josh McCown news drops. The McCown train. Michael says concern is the right word. I would agree. There should be concern with the Texans. Sean said, even before the draft, most people said that Sauce was going to be ahead of Stingley this year. Just didn't expect him to maybe be this good this early. Facts. I mean, that's 100% true. However, he likes Stingley in the long term. Have to give it time. Sure. For sure. Coyote says more H-Town, less Houston. Okay, I think you're talking about the unis. And then Michael says, no Oiler Blue, Titans owner will sue. Keep current logo. Love the red helmets. There could be different shades, though, I think, right? I mean, they don't own light blue in Tennessee. I don't think. I mean, that would be kind of weird if they did that. I mean, again, it's a city color. So I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be the exact blue if they decided to go that route in Tennessee. I wouldn't think so. Sean says, I'm interested in JSN at 12. While I don't want to tank again next year, I think we have time for him to sit out and get healthy if he needs to. Man. Although that does sometimes pay off. Jeffrey Simmons with the Tennessee Titans, he was injured. They didn't seem to regret waiting there. Thoughts on Anthony Richardson? I'm good on that. I'm good on that. I don't know when he's going to go. Maybe he's a top 10 guy, but yeah, I'm not an Anthony Richardson guy. Kid in a candy store who can only get one piece of candy. The coaching analogy. That's true, Tyler. Who also says, I'm 98% on board the direction of the Texans are heading. 98's high. I'll even tell you, 98's high. My 2% reservation is because Nick is still here and I don't trust anything associated with the Patriots way after the last decade. Fair. All right. Appreciate everyone. Again, subscribe, like, much, much appreciated. I'll probably do some shorts this week during the playoffs. We'll also keep this thing going next week. We're going to do a CJ Stroud, Bryce Young in Nick Caserio's words. That'll drop. It was going to drop today, but I decided I was just going to do the Cal and Hannah stuff because there was some news there and the other stuff going on. So we'll keep it going. We got plenty of time. We got plenty of content. We got plenty of talking points. And we got plenty of people interested in what's going on with this squad. So no matter what happens, you guys remember, subscribe to the channel at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram. Number one source right here in 10 to 2 Monday through Friday on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. No matter what happens, though, it's going to be a fun offseason, most fun offseason of all time. We are in this together. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football. Enjoy the excitement, and hopefully we get some good news next week. Have a good